Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So, I've got you guys an update. This is just a mini update, just a short update on a pretty big storm system that is now going to be starting to unfold across portions of the western U.S. This is going to be a huge storm that we're going to be talking about all of this week, and this is going to be mainly a late week kind of storm. We're going to get into this weekend when we start really talking about where in terms of where our impacts go, our specific impacts. But now we can figure out how strong the storm might be and what places will get hit. So I got all the details coming right up. So thank you all for coming to watch this video. Starting out here looking at our current radar. All right, you can see that not much action going on at the moment. Nothing that we really need to be too worried about. We got some rain showers that are moving their way across portions of the northwestern U.S. Let me redo that circle here. That was actually too small. All right. Um, but yeah, we are definitely starting to see some of that rainfall starting to move into some areas up here. All right, you can see in areas near Boise or Boise. I don't. I think it's Boise. In Idaho. All right, you got some rain showers moving into your area, so probably a wet night tonight. All right, a storm system that's spinning out here across the portions of southeastern Canada, bringing some persistent showers and thunderstorms across parts of Michigan. Excuse me. All right, and then maybe some pop up showers and thunderstorms out here in the mid Atlantic region. Other than that, nothing much to really be aware of. Where and as far as your radar goes, all right. So starting out here, looking at our alerts, you can see that we have mainly a lot of freeze watches and warnings out here. You can see starting out here in this is eastern North Dakota. We have a freeze warning that carries on into much of northern Minnesota into parts of central Minnesota. All right, you are going to drop below freezing for sure tonight, and you may even get some snow in some areas because it will be raining in some places up here. So watch out for some potential light snow flurries. All right, that's going to be certainly a possibility out there. All right, and then if you go into southern Minnesota, you get that frost advisory here. This is also spreading into portions of western Wisconsin, including all of Iowa, into parts of northern Illinois, and then cuts through central and central Indiana and portions of southwestern and central Ohio. All right, excuse me. But we also do have that not the same exact one, but we do have another frost advisory that goes out for now portions of the northeastern U.S. We could see southwestern Maine included in that frost advisory, including some areas of Vermont and New Hampshire. All right, but other than that, that's going to be pretty much it for those frost advisories. We go into this freeze watch here that we do have in effect for portions of western Nevada into portions of eastern California. So just watch out for potentially some below 32-degree temperatures out there that could lead to some waters becoming frozen. Not meaning like bodies of waters like rivers, lakes, and stuff, and oceans. That's when it gets really, really cold for a long amount of time. This is just for any standing water on those roadways, maybe some puddles that could actually freeze over during the nighttime hours. All right, especially in the upper elevations where it is actually colder, that could certainly be an issue. All right, we see out here in Southern California, we have a few wind advisories just because it is pretty breezy today, so you could have some winds strong enough to bring down some pretty big limbs, maybe some trees. Just gotta make sure you're aware of that. All right, we got a winter weather advisory for portions of southwestern Montana, and then this goes out for Wyoming. We have what is this? I don't think I've ever seen this before. We have some kind of alert. I can't. Winter storm watch. Oh wow. I did not realize that this is actually winter storm watch. So we do have a winter storm watch already up for portions of southwestern Wyoming. So we go over to the GFS model here, looking at our this is our extended forecast here. We're just gonna I wouldn't even say forecast, but our outlook here. We're just gonna be looking at what we could expect with our upcoming storm system that we're going to be talking about in this update, and then obviously in future updates. So You probably heard about this system that everyone's expecting. This is going to be like the storm of October, pretty much. That's what everyone's calling it. But I think that we are going to get a pretty big storm system that's going to be tracking across the western U.S. into the eastern U.S. And I have talked about this a lot in past updates. I've called this what I think is going to be a blockbuster storm system. All right, and this is it right here. This is pretty much just a group, um, pretty much just a group of storms of rain and snow that's going to be moving from the northwestern U.S. across the eastern U.S., riding the jet stream, and then it's going to be just strengthening on its way. And this is going to be our traditional fall storm system here. And we've definitely we've definitely gone through one of these storms. It's not new to us, but this one is going to be in particularly very strong. All right, and so we watch what this thing is doing here. All right, you can see that we finally get our low pressure signal right here already by the 11th, which is Wednesday. So we're getting into pretty much around 2 p.m. Wednesday, so midday Wednesday, and this storm will most likely be organized. And now we have pretty much a half a rainstorm, half snowstorm. Snow for those upper elevations, and then for the rest of you guys, a lot of rain, especially in the northwestern U.S. Look at this along the coastline of Oregon and Wisconsin, and Washington State. We could have inches of rain that could lead to some serious flash flooding out there. That's going to be a big issue, especially across the coastal regions of those two states around Wednesday, October the 11th. All right, and at the same time, we have a developing system out here in the Gulf that it's looking like it's going to try and get its act together pretty fast due to the remnants of uh, what will be Hurricane. I believe this is a Hurricane Lida or Hurricane Max that will be actually slamming the western coast uh, of Mexico, and so that's gonna definitely help it strengthen. That's going to also move over these warmer waters, dumping a lot of rainfall here on the Gulf Coast, and we could really be dealing with some major, like potentially life-threatening flooding out here along portions of extreme southeastern Louisiana, and I mean on the coastline of maybe even just down here in that general area. We really got to watch out for some big coastal flooding because you're gonna get storm surge with this. You're going to get a lot of rainfall. That's all. That's all gonna lead certainly to some big flash flooding, big concerns and issues with that. All right, this rain continues to plow right through the southeast, impacting parts of northern Florida into Georgia and the Carolinas. All right, so a lot of rain could fall in a short amount of time. This is just going to take roughly less than 48 hours to dump inches of rainfall on many areas. And at the same time, your storm system here is getting its act together pretty big time here. It's crossing over the central plains, which right now at the moment would be loaded with moisture here. We are seeing tons and tons of Gulf moisture, pretty much the last hurrah of Gulf moisture surging into this system here, and that's what's fueling it. We got warm air on the front side of the storm, cold air on the back side. That's also going to be help. It's going to help create an atmosphere for not only storm development here, but also potentially some severe weather here. And then we see by the 12th here, we're getting into Thursday. Now we have a full-on storm system that we potentially this could be strong enough to get a name. Obviously, we had Winter Storm Elliott last year that really caused some big problems. I think this could be something like Elliott, but obviously we won't have that huge snow component, and it won't be those winds won't be as fierce. But I think we could get a pretty similar type of storm here. And now we get into around 8 p.m. on Friday. So we're going to bed Friday, expecting a big storm system to try and get going here. And you notice that we get some big rapid intensification here. We have a 993 millibar central low pressure. A lot of snow on the backside of these in the mountainous regions of portions of western Nebraska into northern Wyoming, southern Wyoming into northern Colorado. A lot of snow can fall. We're talking a few feet of snow, but mainly on those mountainous regions, so those mountaintops a few feet of snow could definitely fall with this. All right. And at the same time, we get a pretty big severe weather event that could unfold here, and I'm thinking that we are going to see a pretty nifty uh, like chance for severe weather with this storm. And when I mean a pretty big chance, I think that we could get a maybe a slight to enhanced risk on the SPC. I don't want to go into specifics too much, but I think we could be in that kind of range. I definitely, we certainly don't want to be in that range to be able to see a moderate risk. We obviously don't want to get there, but I think that the storm has the potential to be strong enough to actually cause the Storm Prediction Center to issue a moderate risk. All right, this is very far out, so this could definitely change still, but I'm still expecting a pretty big storm out of this. And this continues into now Saturday, and this is pretty much the middle of the night, Friday into Saturday. And look at all this rainfall moving across portions of the Midwest now. And you see how these lines here, these black lines, are very close together? That signifies some very strong winds. When you see these lines closer together, that means that the air is kind of tight, all right, or the wind, I should say, the wind stream is tight, and that shows some organized wind flow here. And then basically what you have is you have a vortice here that is it's very strong, and this is sucking a lot of moisture into it, and so you're getting pretty strong winds coming out of the northwest, and they're going to be dipping down here through here. And I think for some of the mountainous regions out here, if you're like up on a mountain, I know I wouldn't even say if you are really up on the mountain, but let's say you are but for any reason you are pretty much halfway up a mountain in a pretty good elevation, you could actually end up having blizzard conditions the higher you go. And that's because you are going to get very strong winds, again, coming out of the northwest, but you're also going to get that very heavy snow. That's going to really reduce visibility and potentially cause blizzard conditions. But very strong winds with this system. And we definitely see that rainfall coming in here. All right, we're pretty much 90 hours out, so we're getting into Saturday. We're getting. Let's see. We're actually. This is actually Friday, so this is Thursday right here. This is Thursday when your storm is still developing. This is Thursday into Friday. So I actually said Friday into Saturday. This is Thursday into Friday. All right, so I apologize for that. So this is actually going to be sooner than you think for the central U.S. here. And then finally we get into Saturday, and that's when this thing is moving out of the Midwest into the Northeast. Still a 998 millibar central low pressure here, so it's still a very strong storm that's relatively organized here. Those winds have certainly they're not strong as they were, but you still got some slightly strong winds coming out of the northwest. You can see that you got the wind stream tightening up a little bit. All right, so that could definitely come to show some stronger winds. But I think the second push of the storm, as far as impacts go, is when this thing makes it to the northeast. Because notice how we go from a 999 to a 997 and eventually a 988 millibar central pressure storm. I think that we could actually see some rapid intensification with the storm as it moves across the Great Lakes. I think that we could really, this thing could actually get a second ramp up here. And I think we could get a lot more rainfall, especially in this region right here. I think we could get a lot more rainfall, which is certainly going to lead to flash flooding because you've been seeing a lot of rainfall in the past few days, like over 200% more rainfall than historical average here. So a lot of rainfall has fallen. So that the ground is still saturated, and when you get even more rain over that, and you still get inches of rain, that's going to lead to flash flooding, widespread potentially. So this is why this is going to be a very dangerous storm for especially the Northeast. But you most likely will see a gusty afternoon out there. I know AccuWeather, which is you probably know AccuWeather by now, but it's one of those weather apps that you watch. We're still tracking the system, so it's still a long way out, 132 hours out. But AccuWeather recently said that on their 10-day forecast that for, I believe, Saturday, that we could actually see wind gusts maybe reaching 50 plus miles an hour out here in the Northeast. And if you look at different websites here that show you the wind speeds and wind gusts, some of them are showing some pretty significant wind gusts. And I don't mean to scare you guys. I'm not doing this for clicks or anything. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that this storm has the potential to create these very strong winds that will certainly lead to some big impacts, maybe some damage. All right, power outages possible. But just certainly a huge thing you're going to have to watch out for, something that could become dangerous as we encounter the storm. And that storm moves out finally, and we're done with that. But notice how we go. We could even play through this right here. And this is the storm right here. And it just continues to plow right across the United States. And this is a cross country storm. And that's when we can really that's when you can just take something away from the storm and realize that this is an impressive system. And, I think that this one's going to be just one of those storms where you're really in wonder of, how it's really making it that long way. All right, and then the GFS is doing something weird that it's been doing for a few model runs today, showing potentially another homebrew system developing off the Carolina coastline. All right, this is a wild idea. I really don't even have a point in really showing this because this will certainly change, but I just wanted to show it for the heck of it that, we could actually get some leftover moisture from that storm system, that we could actually have maybe some slight tropical development. But that's really it. And then we're watching another storm. All right, the week after that, we're getting this is the week of the 20th to the 27th, I guess. All right, we're watching another storm here. All right, it won't be. It's not looking like it's going to be as strong and impressive, but we'll certainly have to watch that still. But yeah, it pretty much just gotta continue watching the future after our upcoming big storm system here. So we look at now our upper level wind speeds here, or I should say upper level wind energy. All right, every storm system, especially these that occur across uh, the United States during the fall and the winter, where we get those storm systems that they have that snow component to them, but also severe weather. Well, they need wind energy. That is one of the huge things that they need, and we see a cyclonic vortice, which basically just means that when you see a higher cyclonic vortice, meaning higher wind speeds here, so like 30 to 40, 50 knots, the stronger the vortice, all right, the more wind energy you have, that's going to create more just more juice for definitely wind gusts. I think that if you're looking for a winter storm, that's gonna pack some not only some heavy rainfall but also some very strong winds, well, you need the vortices here. And so we look at what we can expect with our upcoming storm system when it comes to vortices. All right, so here it is right here. We see a lot of energy kind of just jumbled together, and this is still when the storm is not completely developed yet, all right? But we do actually have a lot of energy up here. You can see a few stripes of this red and orange here. These are wind gusts around actually these aren't wind gusts, but these are winds here that are thousands of feet in the air. But they're blowing at around 25 to 35, 40 knots. So that's just the equivalent of the wind energy that you have because of that vortice. All right. So if that makes any sense, then basically the higher the vortice, the higher the wind speeds that the storm can produce on the ground level. All right. And so we get into the 12th. This is on Thursday. Here's where we get that little dip in our jet stream because you're starting to allow that cold air to travel down through through Western Canada into the northwestern U.S. And here you go. You're starting to see a little bit of circulation with the storm. It's starting to rather strengthen. All right. And I would watch out right here from northern Nevada down into western Nebraska. I think we could get a pretty good line of wind here. I think that this could be actually a pretty strong, a pretty big wind event for some of you guys out there in the northwestern U.S. I would just watch that here because you see these lines I've been talking about again. They're very, very close together, very precise here, along with a pretty good vortice here. And I think we could really be dealing with some pretty strong and substantial winds here when we get to this point here. And this would be around Thursday. So this is Wednesday into Thursday. We could have a pretty big wind event for some of you in the northwestern U.S. All right, and so this is continuing off to the central west, and we have a huge amount of vortice energy here. All right, you can see that our cold air is now starting to travel pretty well down into the storm system, and then here you got that circulation, and then you got that tail to it. All right, that's the severe weather setup here. All right, and then this little stripe here is a lot of energy. The darker the colors here you see, the more energy the storm has, and you could already tell, like even someone who doesn't understand this completely can even tell that this just looks like one of the stronger storms. All right, and man, this really gets going here. A lot of energy, especially in the southern side of this. Um, all right, but you see those. You can definitely see these winds. They're coming down from the southwest. We could even have. I would say we're gonna have two sides of the storm to watch. I would say the northwestern side, winds coming down up from the northwestern up from the northwest. All right, we're gonna have to watch out with that. But I think that we could also have some pretty strong winds. Like I mean, really strong winds coming up just from the southwest, and I think we could really be dealing with some potential damaging wind gusts here. And I'm really concerned about this. So that first initial push of the storm out there in the centrally west could really bring some pretty strong winds. And then you see the storm starting to kind of fall apart. That's when the storm weakens as it moves through the Midwest. All right, but watch as this gets to the Northeast. Boom, right here. Still got a little bit of circulation going on right here. All right, it's getting smaller. It's still adjusting to its size change, but it's trying to re-strengthen here. You can see that the lines here, this wind current here, all right, which also is associated with our jet stream, is actually tightening up here. That's gonna signify some stronger winds potentially, mainly for the Mid Atlantic. All right, and then this continues through the Mid Atlantic and the Northeast, and then that's pretty much it. So a lot of big things to talk about with this. You could really dive into the details and specifics on what's powering the system, but now we can kind of get a sense of how strong maybe these winds could be. And I just want to show you this real quick. This are 10-meter wind speeds here from the GFS in knots. All right, so basically you could say that if we have winds that are around 25 knots, that's around 35 miles per hour. So we start to see the storm moving across the centrally west. I mean, these are your winds coming up from the south, from the northwest here. Look at all these very tight lines here. These are very tight lines. This is really going to show some big time winds. And so if you're seeing yellows and oranges here, all right, those are wind speeds at around 35 to 40 miles per hour. All right, and these greens here around 20 to 30 knots. All right, you could have likely gusts up to 50 to 60 miles per hour. So potentially hurricane force wind gusts with this system. I think this could really be a big damaging wind gust producer, and that could actually be the main threat with this storm system, other than the flooding rainfall. All right, and so it moves across the Great Lakes. Obviously, you have the Great Lakes, the open body of water, so that wind can just push right against it. All right, and so that's going to help it strengthen. So if you're on the coastline of the Great Lakes, watch out for some pretty breezy conditions. All right, so you definitely don't want to go boating out there for pretty much Friday, Thursday to Friday, and then even Saturday. You're probably gonna have some rough waters out there, and then we get into the northeast here. All right, some persistent and strong offshore winds that could really impact the coastline. I would say the interior northeast, not as much, but if you're on the coastline, still stay on alert in the northeast for some strong wind. We really got to make sure that we're not ignoring that. Even though the storm will certainly not be as strong as it used to be out here in the plains, it could still deliver some pretty strong winds for the northeast. All right. So we just look at now for the last part of the update. I want to look at our current 6 to 10 day temperature outlook that has been issued by of the Climate Prediction Center. This is going to be what the conditions are going to be looking like after the storm moves out. All right, we see that cold air that was pushing the storm, it now moves into the eastern U.S. because it kicked that storm off to the east, out to sea. And so now that replaces the warm air with the cold air. And look at this, 90 to 100% chance of seeing below average temperatures out here in the southeast. Look at this. This is very rare to see this certain of a chance to see below average temperatures here. And we see this going all the way into pretty much all of Georgia here, a lot of eastern Alabama, and then even into parts of northern Florida. We just have a huge spot of almost certain below average temperatures here. This really spreads all the way throughout the eastern U.S., all the way up into the northeast, but mainly the southeast. Really going to be a lot colder than it is pretty much right now. And we see in the western U.S. plenty of above average temperatures out here. So a very warm week ahead for you guys. Pretty much after the storm moves out, so pretty much the 14th to the 15th, we're going to start seeing some nicer and more mild conditions out in the west, and then out east, it's going to be a lot colder, and we're going to be talking about freeze. We're going to be talking about frost. It's going to be all that good stuff for your fall weather. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So gotta watch that storm system. We're going to continue tracking it, but I think this one's going to really pack a punch. I explained to you guys and showed you how I do expect this to have enough energy that this could really be our fall classic. That's what I would call it, really, our fall classic kind of storm. All right. And so this will definitely interrupt and potentially ruin some outdoor plans for a lot of you guys out just in the regular the United States. So pretty much everyone's going to be impacted by the system. The Northeast, the Southeast, even the Southeast, the Central U.S., the Western U.S., you name it. All right. So a lot of areas are going to be impacted pretty hard. It's going to be a strong storm, but we'll just continue tracking it for you guys. And I've got you guys covered on whatever will be going on weather-wise across the nation. So thank you all for coming to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.